Mm.
Alrighty, hello everyone. My name is Tonya Beatty, and I'm here with my partner Salah-Eddine for our finished ME100 project, Longevity. So, what is longevity? Well, longevity is a fully integrated IoT application that reminds you of when your food is about to spoil using an Adafruit OLED feather wing, ESP32, and MQTT communication protocol. Longevity is convenient, extremely economical, and can be implemented in any home with ease. So without further ado, let's see how it works. So Stephen is going to transmit the data from his iPhone to the device as shown here. So once it loads, Stephen is going to send a list of items he has purchased. This encompasses avocados, apples, bananas, berries, broccoli, carrots, cucumbers, and lemons, all to the device. Now, once this information leaves Stephen's iPhone, we can see it being transmitted to Adafruit IO in real time, as we can see on the screen above. Now, once Longevity receives this information, it's going to project a received message onto the OLED screen and store the information internally. So as we can see, it just received broccoli. And in time, it's going to receive each message. So how does this work? Well, we created an if this, then that recipe that subscribes to a feed in Adafruit IO where you can have the luxury to text your produce to Longevity, and it will save and append the data to the OLED screen as shown. Now, after this data is received, we have three options in the form of buttons. If we press button A, we will be shown the expiration range for the data that was sent to Adafruit IO, as we can see in a second.
Receive limit.
Could you press button A? There we go. As we can see, it shows the expiration range for all of the data that we sent. Now, if we press button B, it's going to list what kind of data we can store in general. And lastly, if we press button C, it will give us a reference list to the abbreviations that we've placed. So as we can see, RT is room temperature, RF is refrigerated. So now that we've demonstrated our device, I'm going to pass it over to Stephen to discuss the code behind our device.
Thank you so much, Tonya. So regarding the code behind our device, it's actually very well implemented. So as you notice that we use the SPI interface, and we subscribe to the longevity feed through Adafruit IO. This is the code to initialize that. And right here, we create a method interrupt that defines the state of each button. So in regards to that, right here, this io.connect command starts the MQTT connection to io.adafruit.com. And right here is a method that we created. It's a message handler for the longevity feed. The handle message function is defined below all the way at the bottom of our function, which I'll show you later. And it will be called whenever a message is received from Adafruit IO. So right here, this while loop waits for an MQTT connection. This method is used to check the MQTT connection status specifically. So since Adafruit IO doesn't support the MQTT retain flag, we can use the get function to ask IO to resend the last value for this feed to just this MQTT client after the IO client is connected. And right here, this line of code establishes a connection. So here's the interesting stuff that we learned through ME100. Here, we classified the buttons as a pull-up resistor. So the button, when it's pushed, it reads low. And right here, we attach an interrupt. This interrupt corresponds to the falling edge of the button, which means we are pushing the button. So regarding that information, we have this io.run command, which keeps the client connected to io.adafruit.com and processes any incoming data. And here's where it gets interesting. We have a switch state that is considered as a developed state machine of our application regarding the buttons, because we had to attach an interrupt to get out of the title page of longevity. And once we do that, it's developing a state machine throughout our code. And lastly, not to take too much of your time, here is the callback function that I brought up to you guys earlier. This function is called whenever a longevity message is received from Adafruit IO, and it was obviously attached to the longevity feed in the setup function above. And Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.